Sydney, the oldest, biggest and most beautiful of all Australian cities, lies amid a seductive intermingling of land and sea. Glide along the glittering harbour on a ferry, see the white sails of the Opera House gleaming in the sunshine, admire the graceful arch of the Harbour Bridge, and you'll see why this is one of the world's top cities. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 things to do in Sydney. And just wait till you see the number 1 that we're going to be showing in this video, something you might never even have thought of. So make sure you watch till the end. Before we begin, you can help support our channel by becoming a member of this channel by pressing the join button below. This will help us to bring you more awesome travel videos. So now let's cut to the chase. At 10, bike or walk around Barangaroo Reserve. Barangaroo Reserve, and that's not easy to say, is an excellent example of a successful urban renewal project. Named after the influential female Indigenous leader at the time of European colonisation, the area was transformed from an unsightly container terminal and opened to the public in 2015 with a commitment to sustainability and enhancing community well-being. With more than 75,000 native trees and shrubs, as well as walking and cycling tracks, this 22-hectare waterfront precinct is a lovely spot for a stroll or bike along the harbour. You'll also find shops, restaurants and event and exhibition space here. One of the most popular things to do at Barangaroo is the Woolagul Walk. This scenic waterfront promenade skirts the 6-hectare recreated Sydney Harbour headland at the reserve's northern end and extends for 2 kilometres between Walsh Bay and Darling Harbour. Along the way, you can admire an evocative series of public art installations. You can learn about the area's rich Indigenous heritage on an Aboriginal cultural tour. Wondering how to get here? Barangaroo is only a 4-minute walk from Wynyard Station, and you can also catch a ferry direct to the new Barangaroo Wharf. At 9, bask on Sydney's beaches. Sydney is famous for its beautiful beaches. Tucked around the harbour are many sheltered coves with calm water and sugary sands. You don't need to venture far from the CBD to find an inviting stretch of sand and sea. Iconic Bondi Beach is less than a 15-minute drive from the city with great surf, a buzzing cafe scene and a cosmopolitan vibe. For fantastic ocean views, take the coastal walk along the cliffs from Bondi to Quay Beach. If you're travelling by public transport, Cronulla is the only beach accessible by train from the city, and Manly Beach is only a 30-minute ferry ride from Circular Quay. Here you can swim in the surf or the netted ocean pool, take a surf lesson or stroll along the beachfront promenade and stop in at the excellent shops and restaurants. Farther north from the city, surfers will find some fantastic breaks at Collaroy, DY and Narrabeen. Swimming is enjoyable at most Sydney beaches, especially during the summer months, but you should always stay between the red and yellow flags and avoid any sharks. At 8, zoom up the Sydney Tower Eye. Soaring above the city skyline, the 309-metre-high Sydney Tower Eye is the city's tallest building and one of its great landmarks, other than the Opera House and Harbour Bridge, of course. The golden spire-topped turret rises from the busy Centre Point shopping mall. Zooming up the Sydney Tower Eye is one of the popular things to do in the Sydney CBD for tourists. Express lifts whisk visitors to the observation deck at the top, or to Skywalk, an alfresco glass floor viewing platform, the perfect spot for sightseeing. While you're up here, you can enjoy panoramic views of Sydney and its surrounding suburbs, or enjoy a bite to eat at one of the revolving restaurants or the cafe. Next up at 7, shop till you drop at the Queen Victoria building. Is shopping high on your agenda? Head to the Romanesque-style Queen Victoria building. Even if you're not planning to buy anything, it's worth a visit just to admire this beautifully restored building and its colourful stained glass windows and mosaic floors. A high central dome surrounded by 20 smaller domes crowns this elegant building, which was originally built as a market hall between 1893 and 1898. After decades of neglect and even plans for demolition, this grand sandstone building was restored to its original state in the early 1980s. Today, more than 200 high-end shops line its light-filled galleries. Australian stores include R.M. Williams, Lorna Jane and Haig's Chocolates, as well as many Aussie designer boutiques, and you'll also find homeware stores, gift stores and galleries. Feeling peckish? the Tea Room QVB hosts a popular high tea under crystal chandeliers. You can access the QVB from Town Hall Station through underground arcades. At 6, smell the roses at the Royal Botanic Garden, Sydney. Need a break from the hustle and bustle of the city? Chill out at the Royal Botanic Garden, Sydney in Farm Cove. A visit to this tranquil oasis is one of the many relaxing things to do in the city for free, especially if you're in need of a nature fix, and it's only a short stroll from the Sydney Opera House. Established in 1816, the gardens are Australia's oldest botanic garden. They encompass 30 hectares of themed gardens with towering trees, palm groves, orchids, ferns, succulents, tropical gardens, rainforest plants, herbs and oriental gardens. Garden lovers will be in heaven. The Palace Rose Garden blushes with around 1,800 roses. The Glasshouse Latitude 23 and Fernery brims with tropical foliage, begonias and orchids, and the Kadi Jam Aura First Encounters Garden tells the story of the Gadigal people, the land's traditional custodians, and explores the relationship between people and plants. Aboriginal cultural tours and guided walks are offered, as well as events such as bush tucker morning teas and picnics. Wondering what's nearby? Surrounding the gardens is the Domain, a popular event venue with open green space and sports areas. And while you're visiting the gardens, you can enjoy views of Government House, the official residence of the Governor of New South Wales. At 5, spend a day at Darling Harbour. Darling Harbour has something for everyone. Packed with tourist attractions, this waterfront precinct on the western side of Sydney's CBD is a hub for tourists and locals alike. You'll find everything here, from shops, restaurants and entertainment venues to museums, a zoo, aquarium and an IMAX theatre. Families will love Madame Tussauds, the Wildlife Sydney Zoo and the Sea Life Sydney Aquarium, which contains the world's largest collection of Australian marine creatures. The Sea Life Sydney Aquarium entrance ticket is a great way to get ahead of the crowds. The Powerhouse Museum offers interactive exhibits on science, technology, design and history, and nautical-minded history buffs can board a replica of Captain Cook's ship, the HMB Endeavour, at the Australian National Maritime Museum. And while you're wandering around, keep an eye out for colourful artwork along the Darling Harbour Street Art Trail. Younger children will love the carousel, playgrounds, Darling Harbour Ferris wheel and water park. An IMAX and 9D theatre, harbour jet boat rides, simulated flights and racing car adventures round out the exciting attractions. Seeking a tranquil patch of green? Slip into the Chinese Garden of Friendship and sip tea among the willows and koi ponds. At 4, hop aboard a harbour cruise at Circular Quay. Sydney is famous for its sparkling waterfront setting, and one of the most popular things to do in Sydney Harbour is a sightseeing cruise. Most harbour cruises depart from Circular Quay in Sydney Cove, which is also home to the city's main ferry terminal. Short on time? Book the 2-hour Sydney Harbour coffee cruise, which takes you past all the harbour highlights and to some of the most scenic places in Sydney, including the Opera House, the Sydney Harbour Bridge and Fort Denison. Learn fascinating facts about the key sites along the way and keep your camera ready, you'll have plenty of photo ops. Prefer to spot some wildlife during your tour? During the annual winter whale migration, the Sydney Whale Watching Cruise takes passengers out past Sydney Heads to view these magnificent creatures. Don't have time for a harbour cruise? You can still see some of the top sights on a ferry ride around the harbour. Ferries depart from Circular Quay to prime spots such as Manly, Watson's Bay and Taronga Park Zoo. Insider's tip: from Circular Quay you can easily walk to other top Sydney tourist attractions. Head south along the waterfront promenade to the Sydney Opera House and the Royal Botanic Gardens, and a short walk to the north leads to the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Rocks Historic Area. To the west, the Free Museum of Contemporary Art, housed in an Art Deco building, displays cutting-edge and often controversial exhibitions. And now at number 3, stroll around the Rocks. Want to soak up a bit of Sydney history? Take a stroll around the Rocks. On a tongue of land protruding into Sydney Harbour, the Rocks Historic Area was once home to the Gadigal Aboriginal people. Later it became the country's first site of European settlement. The Rocks was named for the rocky coast on the west side of Sydney Cove, where the convicts pitched their tents. Today, more than 100 heritage sites and buildings jostle along the narrow streets, including Sydney's oldest surviving house, Cadman's Cottage, built in 1816. First stop should be a visit to the Rocks Discovery Museum. Here you can learn about the area's fascinating transformation from traditional Aboriginal lands to convict slum to tourist hotspot. You can also join a 30-minute free guided tour at 1 p.m. and 1:30 p.m. daily. Afterwards, wander around the narrow cobbled streets. Pick up some souvenirs at the gift shops, buy handcrafted goodies at the market stalls, and admire Aboriginal and contemporary art in the galleries. You'll also find plenty of atmospheric little restaurants and cafes here. Guided tours run the gamut, from Aboriginal heritage walks to photographic excursions, and if you're looking for unusual things to do in Sydney, you can book a nighttime ghost tour. At 2, climb the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Nicknamed the Coat Hanger, the Sydney Harbour Bridge is another Sydney icon. Supported by massive double piers at each end, it was built in 1932 and remains the world's largest steel arch bridge. You can drive over it, cruise below it, chug over it on a train, or photograph it from afar. But one of the best ways to appreciate this marvel of engineering and soak up the spectacular views of Sydney Harbour is on a climb to its 135-metre high summit. Scaling the bridge is one of Australia's top outdoor adventures, and you can choose from a range of different tours. Sydney Bridge Climb takes groups on an approximately 3.5-hour climb to the top of the outer arch. Tours run throughout the day, beginning with a dawn climb and ending with a night climb. You can also choose from different types of climbs, including an Indigenous storytelling experience and a climb right across the arch to the other side. The bridge connects the harbour's north and south shores. Guided ascents of the bridge include a pre-climb prep talk, safety gear, and a photo on the summit. Along the way, you'll learn all kinds of entertaining stories about the history of the bridge. One of its most famous workers was none other than Paul Hogan, also known as Crocodile Dundee. To learn more about the fascinating history of the bridge's construction, visit the museum in the southeastern pier. And finally, at number 1, see the Sydney Opera House. One of the world's great icons, the Sydney Opera House is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and the star attraction on the glittering harbour. This graceful building, shaped like shells or billowing sails, perches on a finger of land surrounded by water. You have several options for visiting the Sydney Opera House. Snap a photo while gliding by on a harbour cruise, relax at one of the restaurants, stroll around its exterior, or take an organised tour of this magnificent structure. Inside you'll find theatres, studios, exhibition rooms, a concert hall and cinema. Book a Sydney Opera House guided walking tour to learn about the history and get behind the scenes looking at this famous building. This is a flexible ticket that allows you to join any one of the tours throughout the day, departing every half hour from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Avid photographers should head to Mrs. Macquarie's chair for one of the best photo opportunities. Note that the building is undergoing a 10-year, $275 million upgrade, but it will continue to operate during the restoration. And there you have the top 10 things to do in Sydney. Did you like what you saw? Let us know in the comments down below. Share this video with your Aussie-loving friends, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more fantastic travel guides. Bonza! See you next time!